Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Anime Freak here, and welcome to my first episode of Manga Review. Yes, I will be going through and reviewing different mangas that I love to read. Now, just to explain, there are certain qualifications for this series. 1. The manga in question must be finished. It can't be something that's got 10 chapters out, or 2 volumes out, and it's really good, but it's not done yet. There must be a beginning, middle, and end to it. And 2, nothing really explicit. That doesn't mean stuff with fan service is omitted. It just means stuff like choose the color of your wife is omitted. It goes from fan service to explicit, which is fine. It's just I'm not going to review it because essentially it's 2 steps away from being hentai. Literally, that series is. In fact, there's one series whose name I can't pronounce at this time, which revolves around essentially a futa or a hermaphrodite, and literally at one point her and her cousin accidentally have sex in it, which I didn't know you could accidentally have sex with someone, but it happens. Apparently. Manga, well, whatever. But the book we are reviewing today is a book by the name of Bunny Drop, or whatever bunny is in Japanese. Usagi Drop. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not quite sure on how to pronounce bunny in Japanese. It is a 10-volume series with 62 chapters in all. It's an odd little series. It's drama and josei, which I'm not quite sure on how to pronounce that, but it's how do I pronounce that? I can't tell. But the target demographic of the manga created mostly by women for late teenage and adult female audiences. There's a male equivalent that's screw it, I can't pronounce it, but its target audience is generally teenage girls and older. And I know what you're saying, Anime Freak, you're a 22-year-old man, why are you reading this stuff? Well, because I'm stupid and I like romance novels, and I found this while perusing the library one day when I didn't have internet, so I need something to do and read, so I just happened to pick it up, and I enjoyed it. And there's a lot of series like this that are targeted towards specifically men or specifically women that I enjoy, and it goes back and forth. You know, so just because its target audience is one thing doesn't mean that that's who it only appeals to. But it is an interesting series. It goes by 3 main names: Usagi Drop, which would be the Japanese name, I'm assuming; Bunny Drop, the English name; or Rabbit Drop. There's also, I'm assuming, a French name listed. I'm just not going to read that because I suck at French. But it's a very interesting series. It takes place around our main characters, a 30-year-old bachelor by the name of Dalakichi. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Again, not good with speaking Japanese. And our female main protagonist by the name of Ren. When you first meet Ren and Daikichi, they are very vastly different in age. She's 6, he's 30. They meet each other at his grandfather's funeral. Turns out she's the illegitimate child of her 89-year-old grandfather. Damn, Granddad, you got it going on. You just give a thumbs up to that one. Well, for some reason or another, he decides to take her in. And for the most part, the story revolves around him and her living together. This large teenager of a man-child and this legitimate child. Them adjusting to each other and growing as people. It's an interesting story, if not be it heartwarming. Somewhere in the middle, there's a time skip. Now, before you go shit and, lose your mind, it's a good time skip. Time skips have always been odd in manga, in anime, or any real format, because it's always kind of seemed a little cheap to the story. It's a great way to expedite stuff, but when done wrong, it's horrible. Beyond horrible. It can destroy a whole story. But Bunny Drop does it right. It gives you just enough of 30-year-old Daikichi and 6-year-old Rin to where when the time skip happens, which is a 10-year time skip, you're not pissed about it because you're ready to see her as a teenager. You're ready to see her in high school, and you're ready to see all these characters that you've grown to like when they're 6 and younger grown up. And all these characters, these grown-up characters, adult characters, even older and more mature. Our main character's parents at age 2. In the beginning, it's interesting to see their age progress. The main character, Daichi's younger sister, is interesting to see her go from single and completely focused on her career to mother. It's interesting to see Rin's friend, who happens to also be also related to our main character, Daichi, her daughter, not Rin's friend's daughter, but Rin's friend, who happens to be Daiki's cousin's daughter. I could have worded that better, but meh. Grow up and be a high school student. And it's also interesting to see our other main male lead, whose name I will not begin to try to pronounce. It starts with a K. You meet him as a 6-year-old. Rin and him become friends, and throughout the story it progresses more. They start out seemingly brother and sister with a romantic kind of story going on between Daikichi and the mother of this friend. And then you fast forward to where they're in high school, and it seems to be a romance story about Rin and the friend. Now, I'm gonna say the ending threw me for a loop. The last couple chapters, hell, all of Volume 10 slightly pissed me off. As it went on, I slowly started to piece together what they were trying to do with this story, and it left me, I don't want to say bitter, but it left me with a bad taste in my mouth. It was a story with such a clear setup and such a clear point of view on what it wanted to do in the beginning. And then it does a time skip, which in its whole wasn't bad. But then it shows you another point of view, something else it wants to do. Something else it's telling you, okay, focus on this, because this will be a great story. And it does. It is a great story. It starts off as a great story. But then the last volume just takes a left turn and goes, yeah, we decided not to do that. I don't know if the writer just couldn't make up their mind on how they wanted the story to be crafted, or if it was intentional from the very beginning. But beyond the obvious flaws in the ending, which I won't spoil here, I insist you go check it out for yourself, because it is an amazing story. It still provides a heartwarming, somewhat dramatic story. The main characters you meet are well written, and even the side characters are well written. You see characters that you may not see for 20, 30 chapters at a time, but they're still very deep characters, so when you meet them again, you care about them. You see characters that you initially want to hate, but you can't, because they're written well enough to where they're actual people, and you start to see their point of view too. Especially with Ren's mother, who, in the story, in the beginning, is kind of a jackass. She seems like a terrible person, but as the story goes on, you grow to see her point of view, and actually kind of care about her. Learn that she's not really a bad person, just kind of mixed up. That's life. The great thing about all these characters in this story is that they're written like actual humans. They're actual characters. It deals with the daily confusion of life and how you don't always have the right answer, but if you try hard enough, you'll eventually get there. Life may not hand you everything you want, but you'll eventually get what you need, to quote a Rolling Stones song. So in all, I would recommend Bunny Drop. It's a nice, quiet series. Nothing explodes. There's no supernatural elements. Everything's pretty much straightforward. The world is what it is, and it doesn't pretend to be anything else. Enhance, it's like 3 separate romance stories. It starts off in the beginning. It starts off quiet, gets a little turbulent in the middle, and takes a complete left turn at the end. Even with my issues in the ending, I still find myself going back to reread it. If not, just mostly trying to figure out how the end fits in with the rest of the story. And even if after thinking about it and going through it, I'm still pissed at the ending of the story, but I'm starting to accept it. As I reread it and go through it again, it starts to make sense. So in all, I'm going to rate this book a 9.5 out of 10. It's a fantastic book. You should definitely go check it out. I know some of you are saying, well, I only like action manga, and I only like, say, like horror or psychological or supernatural or, all these different genres that are very exciting. And trust me, I read them too. There's nothing like a good action book. But I have to tell you, Bunny Drop is a nice break from that intense powerhouse action. You don't have to like romance stories to like this book. I just happen to like romance stories anyway. Especially romantic comedies. You just gotta take the time. You're always invested in these characters and the world that they've built around them. So, in the end, I'd say go check it out. It's definitely a good read, and it's worth the time. You can find it in any local bookstore, especially Barnes & Noble. They have every copy of them. There's 10 volumes in all and 62 chapters. There are plenty of places online where you can read it. And it's just a really good book in general. With its obvious flaws and weird ending, it may not be for everyone, and this is certainly not a book a newcomer should jump into. But in the end, it's still a book that sticks with you. You think about it, you analyze it, it's still a really good book. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.